going to be a cold day for baseball on the Palouse. We're at Bailey-Brayton Field today for a battle of the Cougars, Washington State and BYU. And it was a cold weekend on the Palouse. It feels more like December 3rd right now than April 3rd, but it couldn't keep the Cougars down this last weekend as Washington State welcomed in UCLA. And the Cougars got a magnificent start on Friday night. Jacob McKeon, a 400-foot shot, gets the big blast going for the Cougs. Dakota Hawkins was magnificent, and a common theme on the weekend, lots of run support for this Cougar pitching. Hawkins with 8 strikeouts on Friday. It's looking more like what UCLA has trotted out over the years in tremendous pitching, and the Cougars had that all weekend long. 9-5 the final on Friday night. Saturday, we had some trouble with the snow. The teams enjoyed a little snow day, and then we had to clear the field again on Sunday as it snowed again Sunday morning. But the crew here did a great job, the players as well, to get us underway in Game 2, and the Cougars continued to swing hot bats against the Bruins. Will Cresswell to left center field. Can you even believe that was the same game, such a sunny afternoon? And the Cougars get out to the early lead. They provided run support for Grant Taylor, scoring the first 5 runs of the game. And Taylor was really clutch over his 6 innings. Jonah Advincula had a great series as well. A couple hits on Friday night and a home run to right center there as the Cougs teed a couple off the UCLA starter yesterday to chase him from the ballgame. As we mentioned, Grant Taylor was magnificent for the Cougs. His strongest outing of the season, definitely to this point, and he was feeling it. He had the strikeout pitch going. He had UCLA off balance all afternoon, and the Cougars were able to use it to get a 5-1 victory. Bullpen fantastic as well in the 2 games against UCLA, with the Cougs not giving up any runs out of that bullpen this weekend. Just 2 games between the Bruins and the Cougars because of weather, and so now we welcome in the other Cougars, BYU. They've yet to win a series in WCC play. They're trying to get it going here this afternoon and avenge a loss in Provo. As Washington State and BYU coming up, our lineups and first pitch next here from Bailey-Brayton Field. Welcome to Pullman. Washington State and BYU taking the field here to get us underway this afternoon on a Monday, and there are a lot worse ways you could spend a Monday afternoon than out at the baseball field. As we see the Cougars on both sides getting at it this afternoon. BYU's won the last 2 meetings between Washington State and BYU. Here's the batting order for the Cougs. BYU's Cougars, Trent Pratt, the head coach. First year as the head coach, but he's been a long-time assistant at BYU. And Cooper Vest, top of this order, is a tough one. Vest tied for the team lead with Jacob Wilk with 5 home runs. They're going to try to get to work against Washington State's starter this afternoon, Spencer Jones. Jones, a left-hander for the Cougs, a junior with a 4.7 ERA. He is 1-0. This is his 3rd start. 9th appearance on the season in 15 1/3 innings, owns 16 strikeouts to 7 walks. Opponents are hitting .246 off of Spencer Jones. Defensively for Washington State, behind Jones this afternoon, Greg Fuchs will be in left, Jonah Advincula in center, Bryce Matthews in right. Cam McGee, Coach Brian Green said they can't take him off at third base, so he's over there at the hot corner Kyle Russell at short, Elijah Hainline at second, Jacob McKeon at first, and Jacob Morrow doing the catching. We'll see Sam Brown only at the plate as a designated hitter today. We'll see if Jones can keep the excellent pitching going for Washington State. The Cougars coming off a 3-win week. They took down Linfield in the midweek and then took 2 games from UCLA, the only 2 games that were able to be played because of all this snow that's been on the Palouse here to open the month of April. So Cooper Vest will lead off for BYU against Spencer Jones. It's going to be a cold one today. It snowed overnight. Crews busy this morning, and the players getting this field prepped for play. 31 degrees at first pitch. So a little smaller crowd with it being on a Monday afternoon. First pitch pushed back 30 minutes. To help give everyone some time to clear off the field. And that's the Washington State Facilities Group, along with the Washington State baseball team, that they undertake the job to get the field ready for play, and they do a wonderful job of it. Saw the turnaround they had yesterday. They had one against Southern Indiana where they had to wipe snow off the turf. And then again this morning, so they're getting a little more well-practiced this season than they would like at clearing snow from this Bailey Brayton Field diamond. They're doing a great job as always. Spencer Jones, the leadoff man, Cooper Vest. But what a weekend it was for Washington State. Only 2 games the Cougars played this weekend against UCLA. They couldn't get the third one in. Jones, boy, he put it right there. Doesn't get the call from Andrew Burke, the home plate umpire. It seemed like it was right there at the top of the strike zone. Daryl Mason, Angel Campos, Randy Sutton, the other umpires today, first, second, and third. Check swing on the payoff. This is going to require a good play from Cam McGee. Had to get it back into the glove, and it's safe over at first for Cooper Vest. Infield single. A check swing that turns right for the BYU leadoff man. And the BYU Cougars have a runner on right away this afternoon. Seemed like it took Cam McGee just a second to get it transferred out of the glove into his throwing hand. Daryl Mason all over it at first base. Now Luke Anderson for BYU. BYU coming in 9-17, 3-6 in the WCC. But this was a team that had much higher expectations and even predictions coming into the year. Some folks nationally had BYU picked as high as 5th in the WCC. The big question mark was the BYU Cougar team lost the bulk of its bullpen. Last year, BYU, the nation's 5th-ranked earned run average. Nate Dale, Cooper McKeon, Cy Nielsen, they were all big parts of what BYU used last year on the pitching staff, and they all went professional. Add into that Austin Denning, one of the leading hitters for this BYU team, hasn't played since March 23rd. It's been a little bit of a tougher season than they expected. Bryce Matthews has room to get to this, and he does, almost outruns it onto the track for out number 1. So Anderson, the fly out to Matthews. And the Cougars have recorded their first outs of the afternoon. Cole Gamble. Center fielder, a senior from Alpine, Utah. A lot of the state of Utah represented on this BYU roster. Washington State shifting right side of the infield to check over to first base. So all that said about BYU, the record, don't let it deceive you. This is a team with excellent potential and a team that could get it turned around into the second half of WCC play. As strike one to Gamble. Ground ball right side. McKeon plays second for one. Russell's back end, not in time. But the Cougars continue to chop down the lead runner. So 2 gone now on the 3-6 put out. And Ryan Sapedi will try to keep the first inning going for BYU. Sapedi, a fifth-year senior from Las Vegas. Leadoff single in the inning for BYU. Nothing else so far. Spencer Jones trying to get the Cougars out of a scoreless first. Brian Green alluded in the postgame yesterday after UCLA it could be a couple innings for Jones, couple innings for Shane Spencer, and then piece it together from there. Low and in on that first pitch to Sapedi. Last year, BYU, hot finish to the end of WCC play. Won 10 of their final 11 games last year. Jones trying to get Sapedi, and now he's ahead of ball on 2 strikes. Good group of BYU fans have made their way into Pullman today. You're going to hear them in the background. More intimate crowd on hand on this Monday. Strikeout for Spencer Jones. Gets Ryan Sapedi swinging. And that ends the top of the first. First strikeout for Spencer Jones. Washington State will take its first cuts when we come back. Heading to the bottom of the first inning in Pullman. No score between BYU and Washington State. A look at the batting order for Washington State. It's largely unchanged from yesterday for the Cougars. Cam McGee, now a mainstay in the leadoff spot for the Cougars. He's coming off a good weekend against UCLA. He'll start it. And then the pitcher on the other side, Connor Smith for BYU. Smith is a junior with a 12.96 ERA. It hasn't gone the way he's wanted this year in 8 innings with 12 earned runs. 6 strikeouts to 15 walks. He's trying to dial it in on the zone. And we'll get to the defense behind him in just a moment.
So Cam McGee to get it started for Washington State, and he takes strike one. McGee 5 for 14 last week. Starting to enjoy the leadoff role. It's that .337 average on the season. Really steady producer for the Cougars. Comes up empty on the 1-1 from Carter Smith. Smith is a junior from Lehigh, Utah. But you're trying to find the zone early today. McGee fouling off the 1-2 pitch. Kyle Russell, Jacob McKeon behind Cam McGee in the Washington State first. BYU with a single in the top half. Spencer Jones registered his first punch out to end the inning. Count even to the Washington State leadoff man. McGee making sure to see a lot of pitches here in his first at-bat today. 7th pitch coming up from Carter Smith. Washington State now 17-9, 5-6 in the Pac-12, and Cam McGee sees it full. Huge for the Cougars in the Pac-12 to get to 5-6. They'll see what they can do in Tucson this weekend against Arizona State. McGee takes strike 3 right over the plate. 7th punch out of the year for Carter Smith, and that's the start he was looking for. Get over the zone, and he gets the Washington State leadoff man. Kyle Russell up next for WSU. But a really good job by Washington State this last weekend to put an end to a 5-game skid in Pac-12 play. Russell going opposite field. Sapedi having to charge towards the foul line and stays with it to make the catch for out number 2. So after the 8-pitch marathon, the leadoff man Cam McGee, 1 pitch to get Kyle Russell on a flyout. And Carter Smith trying to put Washington State down in order in the first inning. First baseman Jacob McKeon for the Cougars. And on a cold day in the Pacific Northwest, 31-degree first pitch. Everybody bundled up here. Both of these teams used to colder conditions in training. Don't expect it to bother either of the two teams today. Jacob McKeon was entertaining on Friday night on the radio with the voice of Washington State, Matt Chazanow, after the win over UCLA, talking about how much Washington State loves playing in the cold. I would imagine, especially when you welcome in a team from Los Angeles with a heavy Californian influence, guys that over the weekend were just surprised to see snow. The Cougars used to it. Smith back into the count with a couple of strikes. And that big breaking ball to get it to 2-2. It's just hanging out on that inside part of the zone to Jacob McKeon. That one too far inside. Counts full. Second batter, it's run full 2 here in the first inning. McKeon 4 for his last 8, including a home run on Friday night against UCLA. The payoff pitch from Smith, and McKeon fouls it off. McKeon, a .310 hitter this season. 3 home runs off his total from last year. He hit 7 last season, 4 now this year, and he fouls off another 3-2 offering down the left field line. Eight pitch at-bat started the inning to Cam McGee. 8th pitch of this at-bat with Jacob McKeon coming up. And the payoff once again. Bends inside for ball 4. Most of the BYU infield was headed to the first base dugout for the visitors. But McKeon works a 2-out walk. And Sam Brown will try to pay it off with a couple outs for Washington State. The junior from Petaluma, California, has been pacing Washington State at the dish all year. .370 hitter. Taking ball 1. Very tough out. He's 5 of his last 12 is Sam Brown with 4 runs driven in. 8 doubles as one off the Washington State team lead. He leads the Cougars with 29 runs driven in. Brown wanted to check his swing. It was called a strike anyways. And of course, Sam Brown, no stranger to BYU. Played in the same conference. Transferred to Washington State from Portland. A look at the lead there from McKeon, and Sam Brown takes strike 2. Again, Carter Smith a pitch away from getting out of the first inning. Brown hits it high and deep to right center field. It's taking back Sapiti, reaches up, can't get it. McKeon getting the round at third, and Sam Brown a 2-out RBI double. Able to outpace the BYU outfield, and Jacob McKeon putting on the Jets to score from first. Washington State strikes first this afternoon. And with that, Sam Brown draws even with Jacob McKeon for the team lead with his 9th double of the season. RBI number 30 for Sam Brown. 1-0 Washington State in the first. Brown able to move to third on the wild pitch. So now the Cougars of Washington State have a chance to add a second here in the first inning. Jonah Advincula seen a lot better over his last couple of games. Snapped an 0-for-17 stretch this weekend, going 3-for-8 against UCLA. Bunt third base side foul. Parker Goff. You see the BYU catcher was scrambling to it. Advincula for the Cougs, a big home run yesterday. Towering home run to right field for Jonah. Had an off day against Linfield. I think kind of reset him as he takes strike 2. And that was what Brian Green was excited about with this roster, was the ability to reset guys when they're struggling, and that's exactly what they did with Jonah Advincula before the UCLA series. Sam Brown over there at third base. 1-0 Washington State in the first. And Advincula down the right field line. He'll make it 2-0 Wazoo. Advincula can really run as well, and he'll put on the brakes at second. RBI double for Jonah Advincula. His 9th double of the season. So now Brown, Advincula, and McKeon all have 9 doubles this year. And with 2 outs, the Cougars have produced a 2-0 lead. Back-to-back RBI doubles. And Jonah Advincula is back into form for Washington State. First pitch to Elijah Hainline missing. All with 2 outs here. A walk for Jacob McKeon, and then back-to-back doubles. Now Elijah Hainline, who's been on base in 17 straight games. A good start for Washington State today. 2-0 lead at home, where the Cougars have enjoyed an 8-3 record this season. Hainline left side. Playing it is Easton Jones. His throw to Jacob Wilk puts an end to the inning. Washington State with 2 runs in the first, both with 2 outs. Doubles for Sam Brown, Jonah Advincula have Washington State out and going today. We go to the second inning. The Washington State dugout is fired up. A 2-0 lead going to the top of the second inning. Couple 2-out RBI doubles in the first for Sam Brown, Jonah Advincula. Safea Mauai to lead off for BYU in the second, and fouls off the first pitch from Spencer Jones. Jones allowed a single to Cooper Vest, the BYU leadoff man in the first, and then Washington State got outs on the next 3 at-bats, including a strikeout for Jones to end the first. Safea Mauai, transfer from Hawaii. He's from Hilo, sophomore utility man for BYU. The designated hitter this afternoon. Again, we expect the first couple innings to belong to that man, Spencer Jones, today. A ground ball, Hainline charging it to his right. Able to steady and throw ahead of Mauai for out number 1. Nice job by Elijah Hainline, who was charging in from deep in his spot at second base. Mauai's got that full face shield on. A little colder today in Pullman than Hilo, Hawaii, with that 31-degree first pitch temperature. Jacob Wilk, BYU's first baseman, up next. He takes ball 1. Wilk, we mentioned, even with Cooper Vest, the team lead in home runs with 5. Wanted to hold back. He was cutting over the 1-0 anyways from Spencer Jones. Jones put that breaking ball right at the base of the strike zone as well. Trying to find the outside half, 2-1. Mentioned how well it's gone at home this year for Washington State. BYU, 17th road game, only 4 wins away from home this year. A 4-12 road record coming in. Spencer Jones trying to get back into the count. And he does with a fastball at the knees. Upper 80s right now in the fastball for Jones. His 3-2 pitch. Low for ball 4. And Wilk works the one-out walk for BYU. So what got the Cougars started on the Washington State side in the first. A walk of Jacob McKeon, back-to-back doubles to take a 2-0 lead. Parker Goff. Now the BYU catcher stands in, hits a fly ball to left. Greg Fuchs coming in for it and makes the catch. Out number 2 on 1 pitch. We'll talk more about Parker Goff continuing on, but this is only his 9th game of the season, started the year on the shelf. BYU really excited to see him back in the lineup. 2 gone, top of the second, 2-0 Washington State. And Easton Jones, the second baseman. Big swing and a miss at the first pitch from Spencer Jones. Out to right field. Matthews going back with it. Matthews looking up. It's off the wall. This should score Wilk, who's coming around third. Matthews trying to get a good hold of the ball. It comes back on to the infield. RBI double for Easton Jones. And he continues to be red hot up here in the Northwest. He was 5 for 11 against Gonzaga and hammers one off the wall in right field to get BYU on the board this afternoon. RBI number 11 of the season for Easton Jones. Runs have been tough to come by against Washington State. Pitching staff really steady yesterday. Even Friday, only 3 earned runs allowed in the 9-5 win over UCLA. Pitch comes inside and blasts the left leg of Sam Beck. So BYU has first and second with 2 outs now. Don't know if it's the grip and the cold there for Spencer Jones, but he just never had that pitch coming out of his hand. So a couple on now. BYU threatening in the top of the second. Back to the top of the order for Cooper Vest. Vest taking off that lower outside corner. Vest back on Friday had an 11-game hitting streak snapped. He's having to fight here, ball and 2 strikes. Spencer Jones really trying to deal that breaking ball. Ended the first inning with a strikeout. Misses outside here to take it to 2-2. But Vest chopped the ball left side. A check swing in his leadoff at bat turned into an infield single. This time right side. Hainline, nice play to his left. Throw on the money. And BYU strikes for 1 in the top half of the second inning. So the Cougars and the Cougars today in Pullman. It's the Cougs, the Washington State variety, with a 2-1 lead. There's a bundled up Washington State fans going to the bottom of the second inning in Pullman. A couple runs early for Washington State, one back for BYU in the top half on a one-out double from Easton Jones to score Jacob Wilk. Bryce Matthews, Jacob Morrow, Greg Fuchs due up for Washington State in the second inning. 7, 8, 9 in the Wazoo order. Strike one called to Bryce Matthews to open him up. Looked like that pitch missed off the lower outside corner of the plate. Now a ball and a strike. Matthews has been trying to work out of a slow start to the season. Hitting just above 200 now. But it had been much worse for him to start the year. The Parker, Colorado native who hit .305 last year in 48 games, 6 home runs, 32 runs driven in. He was a huge part of the Cougars' offensive production last season. Gets ahead of Carter Smith, 3 balls and a strike. He went 2 for 3 against Linfield. Back last Wednesday. It was the highest the average had been this year at 222 after that game. First pitch swinging to center field here, giving it a ride. Bryce Matthews, it's up and it's off the wall. Matthews has extra bases for the Cougars now. 6 extra base hits for the Cougs on Friday against UCLA, and off to a great start this afternoon with 3 doubles already here in just the bottom of the second inning now. Matthews' 3rd double of the season. Sets up the base paths for Jacob Morrow. Man in scoring position right away. Cougars already cashed in 1 spot with a runner in scoring position in the first. That was on Jonah Advincula's 2-out double down the right field line. Big swing by Morrow, but he was out in front of the breaking ball. Leadoff double in the second for Bryce Matthews for Washington State, and Jacob Morrow hit by the 0-2 pitch. Not what Carter Smith wanted after working ahead of the Washington State catcher, giving him the free base. Sets the table for Greg Fuchs. Couple on, nobody out. Wazoo's hitters seeing the ball well. 5 of the first 9 to reach base already. Greg Fuchs trying to make it 6. And a throw behind to second from Carter Smith. Washington State trying to get at least a 1 back for what BYU scored in the top half of the inning. Fuchs putting down a bunt right side. Having to wait for a moment was Morrow. Fuchs, good run at first. And the second baseman, Anderson, covering for out number 1. And Washington State is holding on at first base with Greg Fuchs. The Cougars are going to challenge this call at first. Jacob Wilk peeked at the runner, Jacob Morrow, off of first because the bunt came out far enough. Morrow was worried about Wilk making a catch on the ball. And Luke Anderson was trying to get over to the first base bag. Angel Campos and Daryl Mason will take a look at this play at first base. Fuchs was pretty sure that he hit the bag ahead of the foot coming down from Luke Anderson. The ball might have been in Anderson's glove, but he was still trying to find the bag with his cleats. First things first, Fuchs did his job, and he got two Washington State runners into scoring position. But WSU would love to have the bases loaded, nobody out for the top of the order. And that's what is at stake in this review. Review's new to Bailey Brayton Field here in 2023. Saw the Cougars win a couple challenges yesterday. One that they initiated, one that UCLA initiated. The umpires have a crew that works in a production truck here at the stadium. They filter through the replays, and the umpires hop on headset, and they're able to ask for looks and all the angles that are available. There are some cameras all over the first and third base side that help keep an eye on things. Fixed cameras of like home plate, first and third, the right and left field lines. The umpire's taking a good look at this one in the bottom of the second. We'll see what they come out with. Again, at stake for Washington State is bases loaded, nobody out, if Fuchs beat this out on the bunt. And he is out at first base after the review. So it goes down as a sacrifice. One gone for Washington State. Second and third, the runners. Cam McGee going to try to bring him home. McGee was down looking on an 8-pitch at-bat to start the ball game. Again, went 5 for 14 last week between the UCLA series and Linfield. Has played some stellar defense, too. Washington State, by the way, down to one challenge after that. McGee fouling off the 0-1 down the left field line. Good day to go hang out down by the grill down the left field line. See if you can catch some residual heat off of that bad boy. It bounces away from Goff. Runner's going to stay where they're at. Goff scrambling to get to that ball. Bryce Matthews over there at third base. Can only see his eyes with that face shield on. Lots of guys covering up in the cold today. Big swing and a miss. It bounces away from Goff. Matthews breaking to the plate. He slides. He's safe. And the Cougars get first on the drop third strike. Matthews scores. It's 3-1 Washington State. And no out for Cam McGee on the strikeout drop third strike. Jacob Morrow to third base as well. First and third with one out. Nasty breaking pitch to get Cam McGee for strikeout number 2 for Carter Smith, but so nasty it got away from the catcher Parker Goff as well. Kyle Russell trying to expand his 5-game hitting streak for Washington State. Pitch out. BYU thinking Cam McGee could be up to something. Neither McGee nor Morrow have a stolen base this year. But you'd wonder if the Cougars would try to entice a throw. the Washington State Cougars, that is, and sneak a runner home from third base. Kyle Russell is scalding hot at the plate. 10 of his last 22. Puts a bunt down first base side, foul. Wazoo trying to squeeze home Jacob Morrow at third base. Just continue to add some padding. Now time to compete in this at-bat for Kyle Russell. Corner runner is one out. Cougars gifted an extra out here in the inning. Still see the remnants of the snow around Bailey Brayton Field today. Cold day for baseball, snow each of the last 3 days in Pullman. The 1-2 pitch from Carter Smith. Hit left side. This will score the runner if Russell can beat it out, and he does beat out the back end. RBI for Kyle Russell to make it 4-1 Washington State.
Now batting for WSU, number 19, Jacob Ian.
So that extra out really does hurt in the second inning. BYU had that drop third strike. (6-4) on the fielder's choice. Jacob McKeon walked last inning to start the two-out rally for WSU. Walked, he came to score on an RBI double for Sam Brown off the right field fence. Then Jonah Advincula doubled home Brown down the right field line. That was for a 2-0 lead. A drop third strike, a fielder's choice ground out have gotten the Cougars' next 2 runs, and Jacob McKeon tailing this away into the right center field gap. Kyle Russell has wheels, and he's headed home. The relay to the plate, not in time, and it's a 5-1 Washington State lead on the RBI double for Jacob McKeon. McKeon smoked that 108 off the bat on his 10th double of the season. RBI number 26 to give Washington State the 4-run advantage here in the early going. The 2-out production continues for Brian Green's Cougars. Sam Brown getting ahead, 1-0. And you know, that was the story for Washington State. Even in the 5-game skid in Pac-12 play, WSU really felt like they were playing some good baseball. Just kind of getting burned by the game of baseball a little bit. Hard hit balls right at guys. Pitching performing well, but more timely hits for the opposition. Washington State rounding into form here over this last week, it feels like. So it's back like what Wazoo was doing at the start of the season when they were setting a lot of bests that hadn't been accomplished since the 80s. Sam Brown now ahead 3 balls and a strike. Brown already with a monster RBI double to right field. BYU trying to avoid more runs home for the Cougs. Brown comes up empty on the 3-1, 3-2. Five runs off of Carter Smith already. His season ERA is swollen at 15.3. Payoff pitch. And Brown fouls it off. It's 17 earned runs in 10 innings for Carter Smith. Just not at all what he expected this season. Outlook coming into the year was that he would be an important weekend arm for BYU. The payoff with 2 outs. Brown continues to battle. Eighth pitch of this at-bat coming up. Third 8-pitch at-bat we've seen. Jacob McKeon 1-1 in the first inning with a walk. Carter Smith struck out Cam McGee on an 8-pitch at-bat. And this time he'll get a ground out via shortstop at a fine play by Sam Beck to end a 3-run scoring frame for Washington State. Good answer for Wazoo. BYU got 1 in the top half, but it's now WSU 5, BYU 1 here from a cold Pullman. (5-1) Washington State lead. We go to the third inning. WSU hosting BYU, and you see a new pitcher on the mound for Wazoo. That's McCabe Cottrell, the left-hander who is going to be working in his 7th and 8th innings of the year when it's all said and done here in the third. Spokane Valley native, Freeman High School up there in Spokane Valley, Washington, then prepped at Spokane Falls, Gonzaga before moving here to Washington State. Faces Luke Anderson, Cole Gamble, Ryan Sapiti in the third for BYU. Spencer Jones done 2 innings, 2 hits, a run, 1 strikeout, 1 walk, and 36 pitches. First pitch to Anderson fouled off first base side. What a good start for Washington State this afternoon. Swinging the bats well. The bullpen was really good for the Cougars this weekend against UCLA. No hits, no runs yesterday for the Cougar bullpen. Took over in the 7th. And the Cougs didn't allow a run out of the pen on Friday night against UCLA either. Cam Liss, important strikeout with the bases loaded. Andrew Bond worked in there as well. And Chase Grillo. Sal Liss and Grillo in both of the Cougar wins. Fly ball, right center field, pretty deep. Advincula sizing it up. Shy of the warning track for out number 1. So fly out for Luke Anderson is how the third starts for BYU.
BYU number 22, Cole Gamble.
Then when you go back to the Linfield game for the Cougar bullpen as well, only 1 run allowed there over 7 innings. A lot to like right now from the Washington State bullpen, back on track. Cole Gamble fouling off the first from McCabe Cottrell. And that was the expectation coming into the year, that the Cougars would see a big difference in the performance of the bullpen. Shift onto the right side, Cam McGee, the only one left of the second base bag, and Gamble, strike 2 is called to him. Looked like that pitch missed. Now the 0-2. Close. Just off the lower outside corner, 1-2. Maybe a makeup call. Cottrell's 1-2 pitch. Again with the fastball, again just outside. Cottrell's fastball sitting in the upper 80s. This time he gets the strikeout. Goes to the slider, and Gamble chases out of the zone. McCabe Cottrell retiring the first 2 BYU Cougars to face him in the third. So Gamble back into the dugout. Ryan Sapedi. Good start to the outing for McCabe Cottrell, getting the first 2 to face him. Sapedi struck out swinging in the first inning, and he's behind 0-1 on the breaking ball from McCabe Cottrell. Cottrell putting these breaking balls right on the outer reaches of the strike zone. Then comes back to blow a fastball past Sapedi, 0-2. McCabe Cottrell in search of a 1-2-3 third. Just leaves it outside, trying to see if Sapedi would go there. Could be a quick inning coming for the Southpaw here, trying to get Washington State back to the plate. A little foul off the hands. This will drop past the BYU dugout. Cottrell ready again. Breaking ball. Snapped off a good one for ball 2. As Cottrell works in the top of the third. A very fine light snow falling. The 2-2 pitch. Cottrell back-to-back punch-outs in the top of the third inning. Good work by the Southpaw. 1-2-3 top half. Washington State leading BYU 5-1 into the bottom of the third. Peyton Cole taking over for BYU in the bottom of the third inning. The junior right-hander from Las Vegas, with the numbers on the season shown there, 15 innings, a 1-0 record. Takes over behind Carter Smith, and Washington State made Smith work 57 pitches in the 2 innings. 5 earned runs off of him on 4 hits, including 3 doubles. First pitch swinging, right side and through for Jonah Advincula. And Advincula take a wide turn at first, buttoning it down to a single. But Advincula continuing to see the ball well. Doubled home a run in the first, now leads off with a base hit in the last of the third for Wazoo. Elijah Hainline. Check over on first. Advincula right up near the lead in the Pac-12 in stolen bases. Advincula with 10. Trails Riku Nishida of Oregon, who has 13. Up the middle for Hainline. A play to the left, bobbled for a moment by Beck, but he stomps on second, throws to first. And a 6-3 double play to erase the leadoff single for Washington State. Bryce Matthews up next. And Peyton Cole could have a quick inning on his hands out of the bullpen. We just saw McCabe Cottrell on the Washington State side with a 1-2-3 top half and a couple strikeouts. Strike one to Bryce Matthews. Matthews doubled off the center field fence last inning to lead it off in the second for the Cougars. Base hit here for Matthews, and he had the average back to the highest point it's been all year. You have Bryce Matthews, who could be coming on into the second half of the season at the plate. Jake Harvey, who the Cougars missed for a while in the first half. There's a lot stacking up for Washington State to be real positives in the middle of Pac-12 play. Now, 5-6 in the conference. Up the middle for Matthews. Another play to the left for Beck. And Beck makes the throw to first to cap a quiet inning. But yeah, a lot building for Washington State. BYU gets a good inning from Peyton Cole. It's 5-1 Washington State at the end of 3 this afternoon in Pullman. We head to the 4th inning today in the Pacific Northwest. Washington State playing host to BYU. So glad to have all of you with us on Pac-12 Plus. Safea Mawai leading off the 4th inning for BYU. Mawai ground out to second base in the 2nd inning. First pitch missing Mauai, a lot of use as a pinch hitter, defensive replacement. Not a ton as a starter. Can't catch that offering from Cottrell, 1-1. Cottrell came right out of the bullpen throwing strikes, couple strikeouts. Got Cole Gamble and Ryan Sapedi swinging to end the BYU third. Now it's a ball and 2 strikes to Safea Mauai. Cottrell was used in 62 innings last season, regular starter for the Cougars. This year a little lighter workload, but he's come back with a higher velo fastball and has really looked good at multiple times this year. And a swing and a miss for Mauai, strikeout number 4 for the Cougars. 3 straight tossed by McCabe Cottrell. And he's got the BYU leadoff man in the 4th. With Jacob Wilk, who walked to help BYU score its only run so far in the 4th inning. Walked later, was doubled home by Easton Jones. And first pitch outside. Washington State being careful with Jacob Wilkes so far. Walked on a 3-2 pitch from Spencer Jones in the 2nd inning. WSU aware of the power for the BYU first baseman. 3 balls, no strikes now to Wilk. Five hits, 5 runs for Washington State, a run on 2 hits for BYU, and Wilk takes a strike. He thought he had a 4-pitch walk. Looked like that pitch did miss. Maybe a generous call for Cottrell, who's thrown 3 strikeouts out of the bullpen and now gets a fly ball into center field. Advincula into the right center field gap. It's actually going to drift over to Matthews in right to make the catch for out number 2. That's sometimes what you get if you're McCabe Cottrell. You come in, you get 3 punch-outs. Umpire's going to give you some corners, and Cottrell used that to his advantage to win the at-bat against Wilk. 5 up, 5 down out of the bullpen for McCabe Cottrell. Fires to Parker Goff, low and away. Goff, we mentioned, this is only his 9th game this year. Takes another pitch inside. But hits in all of his first 8 games. Again, started the season on the shelf, but now he's available and playing well for BYU. Comes up empty on the 2-0, trying to catch that fastball from McCabe Cottrell. Seen Cottrell ride in the lower 90s with his fastball this year. It's upper 80s today, a little colder day. 2-1 popped into center field. Advincula racing in, losing the cap, making the catch on the run for out number 3. He makes it look so easy coming in from deep center field, and 6 up, 6 down for McCabe Cottrell out of the bullpen. It's Washington State 5, BYU 1 going to the bottom of the 4th. Bottom of the fourth inning up next. A 5-1 lead for Washington State over visiting BYU. BYU finishing its trip here to the Northwest. Played Thursday, Friday, Saturday against Gonzaga in Spokane, winning the middle game of that series. BYU returns back to the state of Utah Thursday through Saturday for San Francisco. Cougs saw San Francisco a couple weeks back on the midweek. Dons with an impressive come-from-behind win. An afternoon that looked like the Cougars had that midweeker in control. For WSU, it was the start of a skid that they worked out of this last weekend against UCLA. And the Cougars trying to not look back, winners of their last three. 2-2 to Jacob Morrow, seeing it off the lower outside corner. Peyton Cole staying on. Second inning of work for him out of the bullpen. Only 7 pitches to retire the Cougars in the third. And Morrow swings through the 2-2 from Cole. His first strikeout. It was just the first pitch that Jonah Advincula singled off of Cole. Since then, he has settled right now. Double play, ground out to short, and a strikeout. Greg Fuchs up next for Washington State. Fuchs a sacrifice his first time up. Nearly a bunt single. It was a close play at first. It got reviewed on a challenge by Brian Green in Washington State, but the call was upheld. 1-1 to Fuchs. Talking about where that Pac-12 losing stretch started for Washington State against Oregon, the Ducks have won 9 consecutive baseball games. And they've turned into the hottest team in the Pac-12 right now. 18-7 on the year. They're 6-3 in conference play. Washington State, though, behind them has the second longest winning streak of any Pac-12 teams right now with 3. UCLA's been scuffling. They've lost 5 in a row. Cougars just took 2 from them. And Arizona, losers of 3 straight. The 2-2 almost hitting Greg Fuchs. And the Wildcats not accustomed to where they are in the standings right now. 3-9 through their first 12 Pac-12 games. The payoff pitch. Fuchs, ground ball, foul. From our vantage point, looked over the first base bag. But certainly Daryl Mason has a better look at it. So we'll do it again, 3-2. Yeah, the Cougars through 4 Pac-12 weekends are ahead of Oregon State and Arizona in the standings and closing in on moving ahead of UCLA. A 1-out walk for Greg Fuchs. Base runner for the Cougars in the 4th. There's been traffic in every inning for Washington State. Back to the top of the order for Cam McGee. Cam McGee trying to straighten it out today. Couple strikeouts. Did reach on a drop third strike in the 2nd inning. With now Greg Fuchs to work with on first base. First pitch bounces way out in front, blocked by Goff. The Cougs still have series coming up this year against Washington, Arizona State, and Stanford. 3 of the teams ahead of them in the standings. Good swing here by McGee into the right center field gap, but it's chased down by Gamble. And it's going to send Greg Fuchs back over to first base. Nice range in center for Cole Gamble to go track it down. 2 away for Washington State in the bottom of the 4th inning. But a huge series coming up for Washington State. Thursday through Saturday. Mother's Day on Sunday. Or, excuse me, Easter on Sunday. Getting ahead of myself. Sunday, Easter, so as is typical in the Pac-12, we'll see the games played Thursday through Saturday, nothing on Sunday. Kyle Russell with a couple out and a runner on base. It's outside, 1-0 to Russell. But the Cougs head down to the desert this weekend. ASU 7-2 in the Pac, 19-9 on the season. Willie Bloomquist's second year at Arizona State. Russell up the middle, past a diving Anderson into center field. Fuchs lengthening it out, striding to third. He'll slide in safely. And Kyle Russell now a 6-game hitting streak with that hard hit single into center field.
Now batting for the Cougars, number 19, Jacob McKeon.
See if the Cougars can continue to put some pressure on with 2 outs. WSU 3 for 6, 2-out hitting right now. McKeon RBI double his last time up with 2 outs. Ball that he smoked into the right center field gap was tailing away from the right-handed hitter. The fading action into right center, 108 off the bat. McKeon took a big swing at the breaking ball. It's the big difference right now. Washington State has been much better at the plate today with the runners on and with 2 outs. But McKeon again can't get to the breaking ball, 1-2. It's a good curveball that Peyton Cole's throwing out there. Trying to strand corner runners with 2 outs. Pitch clock running low. They'll reset it now as the catcher Parker Goff was giving defensive instructions. And Jacob McKeon takes strike 3 at the knees. Couple strikeouts in the 4th from Peyton Cole. And he gets out of that spot with runners at the corners to keep it a 4-run ball game. Washington State 5, BYU 1, the 5th inning up next. Connor Wilford taking over for Washington State, top of the 5th inning. WSU 5, BYU 1. Wilford this season, 2-1, 23 innings, 5.48 ERA. Cougs using him a lot. He's throwing a lot of strikes. 26 strikeouts to the 7 walks. McCabe Cottrell, a great 2 innings before Wilford. Cottrell with 3 punch-outs. He retired all 6 batters that he faced. Easton Jones has started off against Wilford in the visitors' 5th. Jones an RBI double in the 2nd inning. Gets ahead of Wilford. 2 balls, no strikes. One run for BYU back in the 2nd on Jones' RBI double. Russell charging, plays it left side. Throw right there. And the leadoff man for BYU gone in the 5th. Brian Green yesterday mentioned he's really enjoyed the play of his infielders. And he's felt very confident, especially on the left side between McGee and Russell. We saw both turn tremendous double plays yesterday. Kyle Russell made a play deep in the hole at short. Sam Beck takes strike 1 from Connor Wilford. The fastball at 89 miles an hour on the last pitch. So that's where Wilford's riding right around 90. Gets the comebacker left side of the hill. Off to flip it to McKeon for out number 2. Good welcome to the ball game for Connor Wilford, getting the first 2. Washington State has retired 9 consecutive. Sam Beck was the last one to reach, hit by a pitch in the 2nd inning. Cooper Vest now with a couple outs, going to try to figure out Connor Wilford. Takes the first pitch low. Only 2 hits so far for BYU. Vest had a leadoff single on the infield on a check swing in the 1st inning. Other than that, Easton Jones, a double to right. Vest taking a strike. Wilford letting out a grunt on the 89-mile-an-hour fastball. Working deliberately in the 5th. And Wilford, a check swing, and yes, Vest went after it. Randy Sutton says it's 2-2. Wilford wants his 28th punch out of the year. Gets a fly ball left side. This should do as well. Cam McGee in the shallow outfield making the catch for out number 3. BYU down in order. Washington State has retired BYU 10 in a row. Halfway point of this ball game, WSU 5, BYU 1. The snow is still in those treetops. We've seen a lot of snow over the weekend on the Palouse. Washington State leading BYU 5-1. Cougars trying to make it 4 straight wins. Long way to go in this one yet, but a good start in the opening half. Sam Brown, Jonah Advincula, Elijah Hainline due up in the 5th, and Sam Brown wasting no time. First pitch swinging to ground it into right field for a base knock. So Brown already a couple hits today. Jonah Advincula up next. And Sam Brown getting a little talking to over at first base from Daryl Mason. And Mason apparently took some exception to Brown celebrating the base not coming around first. So the two talk back and forth, and looked like Daryl Mason wasn't all too happy with David Bellamy, the Cougar first base coach over there either. So a little odd after what seemed like a benign single to open the inning. Advincula, good bunt at the third base side, but it rolls foul before Easton Jones picks it up. Sam Brown is definitely a player the Cougars have with some swagger. And maybe he was just a bit too demonstrative after the leadoff single in the last of the fifth. Advincula is 2 for 2 today. RBI double in the first, single in the third. Takes a strike on the outside half, 0-2. Peyton Cole is starting his third inning of work in relief of Carter Smith, the starter who gave up 5 runs on 4 hits over the first 2 innings. Advincula trying to turn on the pitch on the inside, but instead a shallow pop out to Luke Anderson for out number 1.
WSU number 8, Elijah Hayden.
Elijah Hainline trying to get the Cougars a runner in scoring position again. Washington State left runners at first and third in the fourth. Base runners in every inning for WSU. And Elijah Hainline has made it on base in 17 consecutive games. Trying to make it 18 today. Grounded into a double play last time up in the third inning. Takes inside for ball 2. Brown 1 stolen base on the season over at first. Big hole on the right side for the right-handed hitting Hainline. Now 3-0, easy take on the pitch away. Hainline 1 pitch away from something out of the zone to make it 18 consecutive games on base. Having a nice sophomore campaign with the 5 home runs, 19 runs driven in, 26 hits, and average just below 300. Great strides made by the Cougars sophomore from Spokane. 3-1 pitch. Hainline hits it at second. Could be another double play for him, but a double clutch at second by Anderson. It's going to allow Hainline to be safe over at first. Anderson had trouble getting that out of the glove.
WSU number 4, Bryce Matthews.
And by the time Sam Beck had it, wasn't really a good option to get a throw over to first in time. So Anderson having trouble getting that out of the webbing. Bryce Matthews going to try to make BYU pay in the 5th inning. First pitch swinging through the right side, and Hainline able to avoid that ground ball coming through. Slam on the brakes at second. Good throw back in by Ryan Sapiti. But a 2-out single for Bryce Matthews. He has a couple hits today as well. First and second with 2 outs for Jacob Morrow. Bryce Matthews now the season average to .231. Best it has been this year. So he's continuing to trend upward. First pitch swinging by Morrow, foul. Those at-bats starting to stack on top of one another for Matthews as he is turning his season around. Washington State looking to get a good run going right now. Next 6 games in Pac-12 play will be against the Arizona schools. WSU only has 1 midweeker left at home after this one. This is hit by Morrow out to right field. It is taking the right fielder, Sapiti, all the way back against the wall, with him able to make the catch for out number 3. Ball just kept tailing on Ryan Sapiti, but that ends the 5th. 5-1, Washington State in front in this one. Top of the 6th inning. Runs have gone cold over the last few frames for BYU and Washington State, but WSU out to the early 5-1 lead, holding on to it now into the 6th. Luke Anderson, Cole Gamble, Ryan Sapiti for BYU. Connor Wilford stays on for Washington State, and Anderson backs out of the way of the first pitch from Wilford. Only 2 hits so far for BYU into the 6th inning. Washington State has held the BYU hitters down. Wilford getting over a fastball. Anderson just looking to see a strike. Wilford taking a little bit off of it. And Anderson fouls off the 2-1 pitch. We were talking before the break about the upcoming schedule for Washington State. Next 6 games against the Arizona schools. 1 more midweeker at home we were talking about. That's Gonzaga on May 2nd. Ground ball left side. Russell deep in the hole for it and throws to first for out number 1. Another tremendous play by Kyle Russell. He has great range over at short. And the leadoff man for BYU gone. Big smile for Kyle Russell after making that play in the hole. And he has settled in confidently. He has a little Brandon Crawford look to him, doesn't he? The great major league infielder that Brian Green coached collegiately. Cole Gamble taking strike 1. Green, who spent a ton of time in the California coaching circuit, led the head coach at New Mexico State before making his way to Washington State, where this program's continuing to get better and better each season. Wilford, another good breaking ball into the zone to get ahead of Cole Gamble. Ball and 2 strikes. I mean, Brian Green's trying to get the Cougars to 18 wins today too high, 2-2 to Gamble. But the Cougs won 26 games in 2021, 27 last year. And the Cougars could be looking for win number 18 this afternoon. It's really impressive what Brian Green's been able to do. A program that Green took over after a 16-33 year in 2018. Payoff pitch. Fouled out of play. Actually, excuse me, I went 1 year further back. Green took over an 11-42 team that went 3-26 in Pac-12 play. The payoff pitch. Strike 3 called on the lower inside corner. A little slow developing, but Connor Wilford gets the call. 5th Cougar punch out of the day. And BYU has had 12 consecutive retired. Cougar pitching on that Washington State side, just continuing to tally the outs this afternoon. Pinch hitter for BYU, Tate Gamble. Tate, the younger brother of Cole, who just struck out looking, takes strike 1. Ryan Sapedi, I wonder if something happened on that play at the end of the 5th inning in right field. He was going back for a ball onto the track. It took him all the way to the wall, and he did crash into the wall. 0-2 to Tate Gamble. And the pitch from Wilford hit at second base. Hainline, easy scoop and throw out, in Washington State make it 13 consecutive. The Cougars have set down. WSU leading this 5-1 with the bottom of the 6th inning up next. Cutter Clausen taking over for BYU, bottom of the 6th inning up next. The problem for BYU has not been the pitching of late. It's been the fact that Washington State has set down 13 in a row. Cutter Clausen, the numbers this year, 7.23 ERA, 21 strikeouts, 10 walks, and the 1-2 record. Peyton Cole, 3 innings of scoreless ball thrown. Gave up 4 hits, but kept all those runners at bay. 2 strikeouts to 1 walk, 40 pitches to close the book on Peyton Cole. Greg Fuchs, Cam McGee, Kyle Russell due up in the 6th. Washington State will have a pinch hitter, though, here in the 6th. It is Nate Swartz. So Swartz will presumably be the new left fielder. Greg Fuchs, a sacrifice and a walk in the first 2 at-bats. Swartz late on the 0-1. It's 0-2. Swartz was the first recruit for Brian Green coming to Washington State. We were just talking about the road into this turnaround for Brian Green. Really good 0-2 pitch from Cutter Clausen. And the 1-2 fouled off. Pinch hitting change here to get the Cougars a right-handed bat against a left-handed pitch in Clausen. And Swartz hitting it to left field, but running it down. Sam Beck out of his spot at short. Ball just hung up there on Swartz. Leadoff man gone for Washington State in the 6th. To the top of the order for Cam McGee. Cam McGee, same walk-up as former Coug P.J. Jones. It's always funny when he comes to the plate, do a little double take. Thinking of when PJ played at Washington State. A strike at the lower outside corner to McGee, 1-1. McGee checking his swing and appeal over to third base, and Randy Sutton says Cam McGee didn't go for it. 2 balls and a strike. McGee hitting this right side. Couple skips to Jacob Wilk, who takes it himself to first. Quick 2 retired by Cutter Clausen out of the bullpen. Kyle Russell coming up, singled his last time. Hard hit up the middle to now make it a 6-game hitting streak. And Russell is 11 of his last 24 at the plate. Fouls off the first from Clausen. We're almost to the 2/3 point in this ball game. Second, third has been pitching heavy. No runs to either side since the second inning. Washington State took a 5-1 lead. Russell again foul on the third base side, 1-2. BYU's never won in Pullman. Washington State 9 wins. There have been 12 matchups all time. Swing and a miss up the ladder for Kyle Russell. Strikeout for Cutter Clausen, and Washington State retired in order in the home 6th. After 6, it's 5-1. WSU leading in this one on a Monday afternoon. Shane Spencer is the new pitcher for Washington State. 6'1" junior from Las Vegas. Going to try to keep this going. Washington State's retired 13 consecutive for BYU. Last hit for BYU, a double with 2 outs back in the second inning. See, Spencer's been around the plate a lot this year. ERA a little higher than he would like, but a 1-2 record. He's had a couple games that have inflated that ERA. Otherwise, he has been a really steady arm for Washington State. Safea Mawai, Jacob Wilk, Parker Goff due up in the BYU 7th, and they've got to figure out a way to get on base, this BYU team. They've been put down in order in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th innings. So Mawai is 0 for 2 today, facing the former junior college standout Shane Spencer, and Spencer misses to open the at-bat to Mawai. Spencer was a national championship winning pitcher at Central Arizona College. Just low 2-1 now to Mawai. JUCO National Championship there. We talked earlier this season about his impact in that championship game as he blows the 2-1 past Mawai, 2-2. As a starter that day, he went into the 7th inning. Just pitched brilliantly. Last time out against Gonzaga, March 21st up in Spokane. That was a tough one. 7 earned runs. It was 2-2 too high to Mawai, 3-2. 7 of the 15 earned runs on the season for Spencer came in that one outing against Gonzaga. To the leadoff man in the 7th, swung on and missed. Shane Spencer, strikeout number 21 on the season. Blackjack for the Cougar right-hander makes it 14 consecutive retired. And this pitching staff is in a groove for Washington State. Jacob Wilk now with 1 out. Spencer fires in a first pitch fastball for strike 1. Last fastball was at 92 for Shane Spencer. Orders back and misses low and in, 1-1. You bet Washington State's got to be excited to get a couple more cracks at Gonzaga after that tough outing up in Spokane for the Cougars. Washington State goes to Gonzaga middle of this month again, a Tuesday, April 18th. And then the Zags come to Pullman May 2nd. The 1-2 pitch. Skip past Jacob Morrow. There's a road midweek for Washington State next week at Seattle U. Cougars already beat Seattle U 8-2 this year in Pullman. Pop up. Should get out of play on the first base side. Then the Cougars also see Utah Valley in Orem, Utah before their series in Salt Lake City against the Utes at the end of the month. That'll be April 28th through the 30th. Washington State visits Utah. 3 Pac-12 series coming up this month for the Cougs. Shane Spencer's 2-2 pitch. Swung on and missed. Back-to-back punch-outs for Spencer out of the bullpen. The changeup getting Jacob Wilk. And 15 straight retired by Cougar pitchers. 7th punch-out as a staff. And Parker Goff stands in. Last BYU hit was with 2 outs in the second. RBI double by Easton Jones, who's on deck. Led to the only run so far for BYU. Spencer's firing, gets the 0-1 fouled off. Pair of punch outs in the top of the 7th. Washington State pitching really well over these last 4 games. The 0-2. Another strikeout. Shane Spencer strikes out the side. Jacob Morrow slaps the tag on, and it's time to stretch in Pullman. The Cougars have retired 16 straight, and they lead it 5-1. Five-1 lead for Washington State. Last of the 7th inning coming up. What a day today by the Cougar pitching staff. 5 straight 1-2-3 innings. Tack one more batter onto that for 16 straight retired. Jake Porter this year, you saw those numbers there. Tough luck with the 1-5 record. Opponents are hitting .323 off of Porter. It's one of the highest opposing batting averages of everyone on this BYU staff. Jacob McKeon trying to wake the Washington State bats back up. 4 hits over the last 4 innings, but no runs to show for it. Luckily, the way Wazoo's pitched it today, hasn't seemed like WSU's needed that run support all too much. McKeon's ground ball at short. Beck fielding and throwing for out number 1. But the longer you let BYU hang around and start to control this game on the mound, and the more belief it's going to give these hitters that if they can just break through, get a hit, they can start stacking it together, trying to make this closer. Sam Brown a single his last time up in the 5th inning. He and Bryce Matthews have the last 2 Cougar hits that occurred in that 5th inning. 5 runs, 8 hits. No errors for Washington State. A run, 2 hits, no errors for BYU. Brown gets a good swing on the 1-0, but it hops foul. Only one other game today involving Pac-12 opponent of Washington State, Cal, hosting Pacific at 6 o'clock in Berkeley. And Pacific is a WCC game as well. Santa Clara, UC Santa Barbara also meeting, and they've just gotten underway. Three balls and a strike to Sam Brown. One out, bottom of the seventh. (5-1) Washington State, the lead over BYU. BYU has won the last couple in the series. Count now full to Brown after that big swing, 3-2. Teams played in Pasco in 2014 and in Provo last year. 9-3 last year for BYU. Brown hitting the 3-2 into left center field gap, and this will be extra bases for Sam Brown. Brown with his second double of the day. Third hit of the game. And with one out, Sam Brown in scoring position for the Cougars. Jonah Advincula will try to get the Cougs a run for the first time since the second inning. Sam Brown grooving out at second base after his third hit of the day. Advincula taking first pitch away for ball one. Good day for Jonah Advincula as well. RBI double in the first, single in the third, 2 for 3. He wants to join Sam Brown with 3 hits. Takes it low. Bryce Matthews has a couple hits today as well. Matthews, Advincula, and Brown combining 7 of the Cougars' 9 hits. Advincula making it 8 of the Cougars, 10 into left field, and Sam Brown is getting waved on home. Brown in safely, and Advincula into second base. A 6-1 Washington State lead as Jonah Advincula a 3-hit day, and the Cougars continuing to back this magnificent pitching outing this afternoon. Second double of the day for Jonah Advincula. (6-1) Wazoo. Elijah Hainline at the right side, and he fouls off the first. Hainline 0 for 3, did reach on a fielder's choice in the 5th. And inside it almost hits him. So Elijah Hainline's been on base in 18 straight games. (6-1) Washington State in the 7th. Hainline to right field and over to make the catch. New right fielder for BYU, Tate Gamble. Gamble took over for Ryan Sapiti, playing alongside his brother Cole in center field. Two out for Washington State. 2 doubles in the inning, leading to WSU's 6th run of the day. Bryce Matthews taking ball one. Advincula was taken off a second, had to dive back in as he was caught leaning on the ball into shallow left center. He was coming with a head of steam to third, thinking he wanted to go home and try to score. So the throw gets away from Jake Porter, and it should be an error on Porter, allowing Advincula over to third base. Porter had Advincula leading. Now pitch missing to Matthews. 2 balls, no strikes. Advincula taking his secondary lead way off a second. And Porter, a good job to recognize it, just didn't get a throw on the money to his shortstop, Sam Beck, covering. Matthews hits it to center field, but it's lofted to Cole Gamble, and he makes the catch for out number 3. Washington State does add a run to this one. Doubles from Sam Brown and Jonah Advincula. Each have 3 hits on the day, and Washington State a 6-1 lead. Washington State has turned in a good one this afternoon. 6-1 WSU into the 8th inning. Shane Spencer and the rest of this Cougar pitching staff, Connor Wilford, McCabe Cottrell, and starter Spencer Jones, have combined to 2-hit BYU. 16 straight outs recorded by Cougar pitchers. That includes the final out at Jones outing, and then Cottrell, Wilford, and Spencer. Oh, what a job they have done this afternoon. Ground ball foul on that third base side. BYU scored 9 runs over 3 games against Gonzaga Thursday through Saturday. Spencer low and inside with the 1-2. Scoring runs prior to that Gonzaga series in the 7 games prior really hadn't been the problem. It had been the pitching. Swing and a miss, upper half. Make it 4 punch outs for Shane Spencer. 4 batters seen. He struck them all out. Now 9 strikeouts for the Cougar staff. But they have gotten a big lift from Shane Spencer. 17 straight retired. And Sam Beck up next for BYU. Strike 1 to Beck. Five of the last 6 hitters have struck out for BYU. 4 in a row for Shane Spencer. And a ground ball foul. He's quickly forged ahead, 0-2. Just seems like since that final out of the second, the Cougar pitching staff can do no wrong. The 0-2. And a check swing just fouled back. So Shane Spencer, his strikeout numbers now up to 24. His 0-2 pitch. Launched foul on the first base side. Beck trying to fight in this 0-2 count. And he does foul off another one. 3 two-strike pitches fouled off now by Sam Beck. Only 2 hits for BYU. 17 straight retired. The 0-2 pitch. Fouled off again. You wonder if Shane Spencer's just going to waste one in this at-bat now. After 4 straight two-strike pitches have been fouled off by Sam Beck. We'll try the 0-2 again. It's swung on and missed. 5 consecutive punch-outs for Shane Spencer as the Cougars have put down 18 in a row. Another wonderful changeup from Shane Spencer. 6 of the last 7 fanned for BYU, back to the top of the order. What an outing by Shane Spencer. Cooper Vest now standing in, and pitch misses low and away. Shane Spencer has a chance to strike out the side in back-to-back innings. Comes back with that nasty changeup, man. Vesta's front foot on that all the way. Shane Spencer is changing speeds well with that fastball around 92. And he comes right back with it for strike 2. Home plate umpire Andrew Burke rung up Cooper Vest, but it was not strike 3. It was just strike 2. So 1-2. But maybe it's foreshadowing. Spencer, the 1-2 pitch. And it's low and inside. That's never a good feeling. The umpire, you lose track of the balls and strikes. Give the big strikeout sign, but it's just strike 2. The 2-2. Low and away. Counts full. Shane Spencer and Washington State's pitching staff dealing this afternoon. The payoff pitch. Swung on and missed. Back-to-back innings that Shane Spencer strikes out the side. And WSU has retired 19 straight. And the Cougars now have 11 strikeouts, 6 of them for that guy over the last 2 frames, Shane Spencer. Boston Mabius will face Jacob Morrow, Greg Fuchs, Cam McGee in the 8th for Washington State. A lot of zeros put on the scoreboard by Cougar pitching. 6 up, 6 down from Shane Spencer on the Washington State side, all via strikeout. You see Boston Mabius this year, 6.48 ERA, 16 strikeouts to 4 walks. Jacob Morrow, Greg Fuchs, Cam McGee, as we said here in the 8th for WSU. 6-1, the lead at home for the Cougars, trying to win 4 straight. It has been quite a week for Washington State. A win over Linfield, a couple wins against UCLA, and the only 2 games played against UCLA. 3rd game, no makeup date scheduled, so you only have to get 2 in Pac-12 play. But the Cougs trying to cap a little perfect homestand. Before opening up a 4-game road stretch at Arizona State, Seattle U. They'll have the Cougars next at home April 14th against Arizona. Friday night game on Pac-12 Washington, 7 o'clock first pitch. Saturday the 15th, 3 o'clock. And Sunday the 16th at noon. Strike 2 to Jacob Morrow. Ball and 2 strikes. Maybe come the middle of April, we won't see snow on the ground in Pullman. What a weekend of weather that we saw. Ground ball at third, scooped up by Jones, and Jones going across the diamond to make the play for out number 1. Nate Swartz coming to the plate for the second time, took over in the 6th inning. Look at Easton Jones, who just made that play over at third base. Washington State trying to find a way to win another midweeker. Right now, the losses to Gonzaga and really to San Francisco are the ones that stand out. WSU really wants that San Francisco game back. A 14-8 loss to the Dons, in which the Cougars led 8-2 after 5. Nine-run 7th inning was the big difference in that one with San Francisco. Reminder, BYU sees San Francisco next in Provo Thursday through Saturday this weekend. Swartz taking a strike. Swartz will line out to a short his last time up, but he's ahead 3 balls and a strike here. Washington State has only struck out 5 times today. 5 early runs between the first and second innings. And Swartz hits the 3-1 hard at short, fielded nicely by Beck. Takes in that short hop. Good throw to first for out number 2. And back to Cam McGee. Man, are the guys going to be excited to get down to Tempe. It's going to be 80 degrees this weekend. Be the warmest weather that the Cougs have felt on the diamond this season. It's going to be fun down there at Phoenix Municipal against Arizona State. The 1-0's inside. 2 balls, no strikes to Cam McGee. Temps in the 80s. They brought the walls in. ASU's hot. They took 2 or 3 from Cal. They swept Arizona a couple weeks back. Going to be a fun matchup, and Cam McGee seeing his former team in Arizona State this weekend. Big swing, comes up empty on the 2-0, 2-1. So it's going to be another one of those emotional series for the Cougs. We saw an early emotional set in Corvallis, and the Cougars harnessed that energy, that excitement to take 2 of 3 from Oregon State. McGee launches the 2-1 pitch to right center field. The Gamble brothers are there. It'll be the younger of Tate Gamble in right center field making the catch for out number 3. Washington State down in order in the 8th. WSU has a 5-run lead. Cougar pitching's retired 19 in a row and looking to put an end to it in the 9th for a 4th consecutive win when we come back to Pullman. Andrew Bond taking over for Washington State. Top of the 9th inning, a 6-1 lead for Washington State over visiting BYU. Cougar pitching has 6 straight punch-outs thanks to Shane Spencer. 2 innings, 6 punch-outs, all 6 retired. Andrew Bond's numbers on the season, they're 3-0. 27 strikeouts to 6 walks. It's been phenomenal. Cougar pitching staff trying to combine to 2-hit BYU. Really well pitched game, start to finish, by Washington State today. Cougars also tossed a 2-hitter against Villanova this season, and a 1-hitter against Oregon State to open up their first weekend of Pac-12 play. Luke Anderson starts the 9th for BYU, and he takes strike 1. Bond, the 5th different Washington State pitcher today, and just outside, a ball and a strike. Anderson 0 for 3 today. Fouls off the 1-1 pitch. Luke Anderson, the only hitter in the BYU order to not strike out today. Cooper Vest, Sam Beck, Easton Jones all struck out last inning. The 1-2 up high. Shane Spencer really turned it on. 6 strikeouts over his 2 innings. Nobody reached base against him. Bond set the 2-2. And launched high in the air to center field. Won't be a strikeout, but it'll be out number 1 in the top of the 9th. And Cole Gamble up next. Washington State 2 outs away from a perfect homestand and 4 wins. Cole Gamble now, 2 strikeouts, a fielder's choice. 20 straight set down by Cougar pitchers. One of those batters for Spencer Jones. Then 6 batters each for McCabe Cottrell, Connor Wilford, Shane Spencer, and now 1 for Andrew Bond so far. Bond gets strike 1 across to Gamble, 1-1. Great command day for the Cougar pitching staff as well, all over the strike zone. Ball and 2 strikes. Gamble trying to avoid his 3rd punch out of the day, the 1-2 pitch. Bond gets a weak dribbler, charging Cam McGee, plays it on the run, throw in time for out number 2. 21 straight retired. And what a charging play by Cam McGee. It falls on Tate Gamble to try to extend the ball game for BYU. Cam McGee making another great play on the left side of the Cougar infield. First pitch low and away from Tate Gamble. Not often you see a pitching staff put down 21 in a row. That's what Washington State has done today across 5 different pitchers. And inside for ball 2 to Gamble. 2 balls, no strikes. No, Anthony Claggett's got to be really pleased with his staff today and their bounce back. Really over this entire week. They've pitched a great week for the Cougs. They had a rough stretch of the 6 straight losses, 5 in Pac-12 play. But they've bounced back, and that's what counts. The 2-1 pitch. Strike 2. Andrew Bond and Washington State staring down a perfect 4-game homestand. And Bond's 2-2. Strike 3 called. Washington State retires 22 consecutive to finish off a 6-1 victory over BYU. And the Cougars move to 18-9 on the season and put up a perfect 4 games at home with 2 over UCLA, 1 over BYU, and 1 over Linfield. And the Cougs have some serious momentum headed to the desert to take on Arizona State and the first place spot in the Pac-12 standings. Cougs will be there on Thursday. They win it today, 6-1 over BYU. For our entire crew, this is Trevor Williams saying so long from Pullman, where Washington State emerges out of the battle with the Cougars victorious.